Hi, I'm Evan Worsley. I'm with Conduct All Electric, and this is Pain to Profits.
Y'all want to get turned? I heard that you're trying to go climb to the top. I start from the bottom, it's kind of like putting on socks. Yeah, y'all ready or not? Don't let me get hot, though. Clean like a mop, whole world is shot. This place gon' knock, this place gon' rock. Y'all ready or not? Ready or not? You ready or not? You ready or not? Pay my dues, punch that clock. You ready or not? You ready or ready or not? You ready or not? You ready or not? You ready or not? Pay my dues, punch that clock. Ready or not? You ready or hey.
Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to another episode of Pain to Profits. I'm your host, Samson Jagoras, and today we got Evan Worsley, Conduct All Electric, and actually a guy who trained at the gym for a while, but he's coming back. His daughter trains here as well. She's a basketball stud, probably a better athlete than you were.
Definitely.
And today we're going to share his story into entrepreneurship of growing a business over the last 6 years and kind of all his pain to get there to that point. I think you guys will relate a lot to working a job that you don't necessarily love and the anticipation of something more, that fulfillment that comes along with entrepreneurship. And so we're just excited to have you here, brother. And I appreciate you coming and spending some time, man.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I'm excited to share my story and talk about all the different twists and turns that got us here. So.
Yeah, it's never just a straight path, right?
No, it's not. It's not a little 5K that you get to run and get a medal at the end for sure.
Yeah, and it's definitely a marathon, and the marathon never actually ends. So
no, we're still running.
Yeah, awesome. So 6 years you guys have been in business, but I think what's helpful for our audience is to just know, what did it look like before that? Were you always an entrepreneur? What were you doing? And then fast forward to the catalytic event that was like, okay, I got to go and do my own thing.
Yeah, I've always been I've been that type of guy that I'm just a hard work guy. I like to sweat. I like to work with my hands. And I was going to play college baseball out of high school. That didn't work out. And a few of my friends were electricians, and they said, "Hey, we're making pretty good money. We can buy beer and do whatever we need to on the weekends." So I thought, all right, cool. Kind of fast forward to that, I was one of the younger journeymen ever in Colorado, and got my journeyman's license. And really there was two pieces of it. Is I got my journeyman's license. I was all excited. It's a big deal. And I went into the office and showed them my license, and they said, "Oh, cool. Here's a 50-cent raise." And I thought to myself, I waited all this time for that. Okay. During that time, I was running a big project for a large general contractor in town, and they offered me a position to be a superintendent there. So I thought, okay, well, maybe this is the next step in my career. I was a superintendent, worked all my way up from assistant all the way to kind of a senior superintendent. I was there for 11 years, and I was still doing electrical work on the side. People would call and say, "Hey, I got this, I want that." And I was making almost as much money doing electrical work on the side as I was a GC. But what I didn't realize was I was working 90 hours a week, and it was taken away from family and everything else. And finally, just one day, I had enough, and I said, I think I can do this. And on the GC side, I was wanting more and more, responsibility. I'm the type of guy that if I'm not pushed and challenged and a little bit scared, I get complacent at work.
Yep.
And when the day comes that I don't want to get out of bed in the morning, or I dread getting out of bed, that's when I make a change. And that's what happened as the GC. And I finally had enough. And thank God I have a good wife who pushed me. We had one paycheck in the bank was all we had. And she said, "Go do it. I'm not sure how we're going to do it, but go do it." And we did. That's really how it got started. It wasn't pretty in the beginning, for sure.
I want to riff on that with your wife, for example. Were there multiple conversations over the period of a lot of years where you'd come home and be like, I got to go. This is it. Or was it that final decision and she was already on board? Because I'm thinking about my own story personally, and
sure,
my wife craved a little bit more certainty, and I'm a kind of like, let's just go build the parachute on the way down. You know? And she would always pump the brakes on me.
It was kind of the opposite. I was ready to be done towards the end. I wasn't challenged anymore. Like I said, I was struggling to get out of bed in the morning, and I was really good at my job as a GC, but it wasn't challenging anymore. I could work 4 hours a day and do what I needed to do, and cover my 8 hours. And I was really craving something to challenge me, and it just wasn't in the cards where I was. And she was the one that said, just jump. And I was like, no, we have a paycheck every 2 weeks. And she's like, no, just jump. And really that's
a good woman right there.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad she did, because I don't know that we'd be here if not. I was, when you have 2 kids, it's like, we need to make sure that we're going to be okay, because we didn't really have a safety net at that time. We were younger and we didn't have much of a plan if it didn't work. So,
yeah. Well, and a lot of people listen to this, and we talked about that, are in that stage. They love their wives, they love their family, and they already know, divorce rates in this country are 50%, let alone they're probably 10 times higher in entrepreneurship.
Yeah.
And so those are the fears. Those are the things that keep us from actually pulling the trigger.
For sure.
I love that you shared that. You also fit the profile of, have you ever read the book, The E-Myth?
I have.
Okay. The profile of like Journeyman. He's got all these skills.
Yep.
He's a technician, knows the business inside and out. And then you transition to being a business owner and an entrepreneur. And there's a whole bunch of skills. There's no playbook on that one that they give you. So I'd love to talk about that first year in business of going from working from somebody else to working for yourself. What did that look like?
I think the thing that drew me in the most was the fact that when I was a general contractor, there's a hierarchy of command that, hey, you're going to build this project this way for this amount of money in this time. And you live by somebody else's decisions. And that really was what was getting me, is I was given the playbook and I was told to run it regardless as if I knew it was right or wrong. And I almost felt it was muting my skills.
Sure.
Let me manipulate it. Let me help us make more money. Let me build it in a certain amount of time. And that's just not the way it works in that industry. And I was tired of living by somebody else's decisions. And I wanted to make the decisions. I wanted to be responsible for them, whether they were right or wrong. And that really is what pushed me out the door, is I was going to make those decisions from there on out. And I felt I had the skills to do it. And obviously it's worked out well. So
what were the, if I only knew then what I know now, I would have done things differently moments that you had, especially in that first year? I know for me, we're going to get this many new people, this many new customers. We're going to spend all this money on marketing. We're just going to be so dope and everybody's just going to love us. What were some of those for you?
I'm a big relationship guy. Relationships have done a lot for me in my business. And, whatever I can do to build a relationship, I was all about. And when I was young into my business, I thought, hey, this guy called me up. Samson called me up. He knows that I'm running a business. I'm going to give him 75% off of his bill because I know he'll call me the next time he needs something. I know he will. I give him 75% off his bill. We make a couple peanuts on the job, and then I never hear from Samson again. And so I gave away a lot of money and a lot of work in the beginning in hopes for the return on investment that I never got. People either want your services or they don't. And really giving away money in the beginning, it didn't do me any favors at all. More than giving a discount, doing a good job, being personable, communicating well, those are all things that have worked well for me instead of discounts and giving things away, for sure.
Do you think there was a little bit of insecurity in that? That's why you're doing that?
There was a little bit, especially when you know people and you're doing a job for them. You almost feel guilty charging somebody, electrician rates to do something. But I also wanted people to like me, like me. Tell somebody that I'm good. Tell your friends, tell your family, get on Facebook.
Yeah.
And a lot of that's what it was. And it's not really necessary to business. Doing a good job, and really when people see your worth, they'll pay you whatever you want or whatever they feel is fair. It's when you do a good job, you don't need to market yourself.
Yeah, like in that way, right?
Yeah.
I think that there is some strategy in doing that if you can leverage it to get like a good review and leverage that on social media. But 75% discount is pretty legit.
Yeah.
If I call you and I need some work done, do I get that discount?
We can talk about that.
I love that. So talk to me about up until it's been 6 years you've been in business. What have been some of the biggest challenges that you guys have stumbled upon along the way?
Yeah, for the first couple of years, for the first 6 months, it was just me while I got going. And to be honest with you, we didn't have lines of credit. We had one credit card. I would buy material. I would do the job that day, and I would try to bill the person that day, get that money, put it in the bank, and roll it all over. And slowly, I built the smallest snowball in all time. But eventually, that's what worked. But more than anything, it was building the right team, because for the first 2 or 3 years, I just went go, do as much work as you can, gobble up everything you can, just put money in the bank. And, it wasn't until I got the right team around me in my office, and they were like, "Are you making money?" And I'm like, "I'm not sure. The lights are on and the guys are paid. I think we're okay." And, I have some pretty amazing team members that are like, "Evan, this is not how you run a business. You're doing great at making money, but who knows how much money, where it's going, what is your plan?" And for the longest time, I didn't have a plan. I just wanted to make money.
Yeah.
And once I got those people around me, it's when I started realizing, job costing. Are you making money on these certain types of jobs? And what we realized is there's certain types of projects out there we're just not making good money on. And then there's other projects we make fantastic money on.
Right.
That opened my eyes to what are we doing, still doing some of these ones where we're making 3%. And then we've got other ones where we're making 15, 16% on. And so really getting the right people around me has changed our business for sure.
Yeah. We confuse motion and progress a lot of times. Like, I'm doing stuff. I got jobs. I'm busy. I got money coming in the bank. And then the other thing I think that you said is sometimes as a new entrepreneur who is so passionate about caring for their family, we prioritize money before time freedom. Mm-hmm. And so we're like getting jobs, making money, and going in, going out, and we're good, but then we're trapped. Now we just have a really glorified job.
Yes.
What was the moment when you're like, okay, I need to hire? Who was your first hire, and what was that decision like?
Yeah, it's funny. I worked with a lady when I was at the construction company. She was the first PM that I worked with, and women in construction are powerful women. You have to be a powerful woman in construction. Yeah. And from the moment I met her, she taught me a lot. I mean, when I was first in the GC world, I didn't know how to write emails properly. You know what I mean? Like the way you respond to things without admitting fault, but still admitting fault, just things like that. She taught me everything. And she popped back up in my life on LinkedIn of all places. And she'd had enough of the GC world too. And she kind of branched out and she was doing business coaching. Oh, cool. And she reached out to me and I thought to myself, I don't need that. I'm doing fine. Look at all the work we're doing. And she stayed on me. And she said, I'm coming into your office and I'm coming for free. And I just want to see what you're doing. And it was at that moment she brought up the things of, are you making money? What is your growth plan? Do you have a budget? And I was like, what is a budget? To me, a budget is how much you're going to spend on a project. There's actually a budget for your office and your sales and your marketing and all those things. And I didn't have any of that in place. And to be quite honest, she was shocked, and to see the shock and a little bit of fear in her face,
she was scared for you.
Yeah, it kind of scared me to the point where I was like, we need to do something. So I brought her on board as a consultant, and she's just started diving in, and she's helped me with processes and procedures, and she's still there. But, now she's helped me build this team around me that is just, I have a team that's so much smarter than me.
Yeah.
I'm really good with my hands. I'm really good at making money, and I'm really good at relationships. Outside of that, I'm not good. I'm not good at marketing. I'm not good at numbers. I'm not good at any of that stuff. But I have the best people I can find now. And so it's made a huge, huge difference in our company.
Dude, I love that you can admit that. Sometimes entrepreneurs, their ego is so big that they can't get out of their own way.
Yeah.
And there is a big difference between being an entrepreneur who's a creator, a launch pad, a starter of things, and being a really good business person. Mm-hmm. They're not always congruent. Obviously, as entrepreneurs, we grow up over time. We become better business people. But, man, some entrepreneurs just have a really hard time of letting go of the reins and admitting that, like, dude, I'm not the smartest guy in the room.
Yeah.
I'm a really good conductor. I'm good at, a lot of little things. Like, I can kind of do this and kind of do that. But I'm not the expert on those things. So I commend you for that. Who was that first hire of the inner circle, we'll call, around you?
So the first hire, his name's Sean. He's actually my field operations manager. And he and I worked together, before I was a GC. So it had been 11, 12 years since we'd worked together. But he was my right-hand man. And for anyone listening, I would hire a right-hand man, but before I would hire anybody else. Right. He helped me in the field. He, helped me invoice at nights when we were done in the field. He would do anything. If it doesn't matter if it's office work to field work, he would be in an attic, whatever it takes. He would do anything. And for the longest time, it was just him and I. And having somebody you can trust that is like-minded and will do anything for your company is priceless. And what I learned with him, and I never shortchanged him, I paid him whatever he wanted, and then a little bit more. Having that right-hand man, it's almost like an adult, blankie. It
makes you feel all
it does.
snuggly
You're going to be okay. And early on, say I had a customer who was upset about their bill. I'm a very prideful person, and I took that personally. Like, you don't like our services? How dare you question? And I'm a prideful person, so it hurt my feelings, and I would get defensive. And what I realized is having somebody like him, I could pass that customer off to him. He took the emotion out of it because it wasn't his money per se, and would really smooth things over. And it took a lot of pressure off of me. That's just a small example, but having that right-hand man he's been with me the longest, and I don't know that I would be where I am without him now.
Yeah. And it's lonely at the top, man, running a business
on
your own. You need somebody to bounce ideas off of and ask questions and challenge your talk track. Like, sometimes your ideas are bad, and you need somebody to tell you they're bad.
You do, and you need somebody that is not a yes man. That's not what you need. You need somebody to say, Evan, don't call that customer and let them have it, or don't bid this job. I have a really bad feeling about this job. You need somebody who can, provide good feedback instead of, go ahead. Yeah, sounds great. Yeah. A yes man is the worst thing for a business leader.
Again, I'll commend you, because I've worked with and been around entrepreneurs where they just have a hard time admitting that they're not the man. Yeah. They're not incredible at everything, and they're wrong, or they made a mistake, or they're sorry. So that's a big one. Was he also helping you build processes and systems in the business so that you guys can continue to scale, or was that more the consultant that was helping you do that?
That was more the consultant. So, like I said, Sean and I were just busy making money and at all cost. And, for the first year and a half, my office consisted of a storage unit. I had materials and tools in a storage unit, and then my wife and I did billing at nights at home in our house. And pretty soon he's like, we need to get some stuff formalized. We need an office. And the consultant came on board, and she said, the first thing you need is some sort of office manager to kind of help. I mean, I had HR issues that could have been bad. I didn't have good paperwork. I didn't have policies. I didn't, and we outsourced all of our accounting to begin with so that we didn't have that initial investment. And, once I brought her on, she really started building the team around me, and she was like, okay, here's the first process and procedure we're going to do. Here's where you're really risking a lot, and you have some open liabilities here. And we kind of closed that up, and, fast forward to 6 years, I've hired a really expensive but a really, really intelligent controller. Instead of just having an accountant, I have a controller now, which Smart. I've seen a big difference. I did hire an accountant kind of in between, and she was very limited in she was an accountant. She was great at accounting.
She's a bean counter.
Yes.
Yeah. She doesn't have that business acumen. Can you just explain to people what the difference is between like an accountant and a controller?
Yeah.
They may not know.
So our accountant that we hired, she would enter invoices, and she would help with billing, and she would make sure our AR and AP was in good shape. But outside of that, there was nothing else. Now having a controller, I get biweekly cash reports. I get forecast reports. She works on my budget I talked about. I've never had a budget before. An accountant wasn't capable of producing a budget. And then she, more than anything, has really focused on our growth. Where are we going? And that's something I never thought about. I just was gobbling up every piece of work I could and thought that was great. If I'm busy, that means I'm doing good, right? And she said, not always. That's not always what it means. And so she's out ahead of me 6, 8, 10, 12 months that
I love that.
I know that we're going to be okay. And like I said, I'm a simple-minded numbers guy. And so she understands me to the point where when we have monthly check-in financial meetings, she'll present all these numbers, and I'm like, oh, this looks great.
This is for Evan.
Yeah, give me the Cliff Notes for Dummies, please. And so she does. But more than anything, what I get from her and I've asked for is I get a monthly grade. Because I'm simple. I'm like, where are we at? Where are we financial? Where are we? And she's like, you're a B+ right now. We have some guys that aren't paying. We lost a little bit of money on this type of job, whatever it may be. And when I hear that I'm a B+, I'm a perfectionist, and I want an A. And so, she tells me, well, if you want to be an A, this is what we got to do. And then the next month I get it back to an A. And just like a student would, right? If your kids had a B and they take pride in what they're doing, they're going to find a way to get an A. As parents, we're like, you need to go find some extra credit. That's what I do as a business owner. I go find that extra credit, and I get our grade back up.
Dude, I love how you've just programmed your business and your life to play into your skill set and your weaknesses as well.
Sure.
Like the grading system, that's huge. I think, too, it's important to have that person who's forecasting and looking to the future, because sometimes we just, if you're going to go in for business for yourself, you don't want a job. You want an asset that gives you optionality in the future to acquire another company, franchise, sell, or not move to a president role and just enjoy the fruits of your labor and have this self-managing company. So that's an invaluable hire. How many employees do you guys have now?
We have 38.
38. Yeah. And what are some of the functions that they have in the business?
On the management / office side, so I have a field operations manager, Sean, that I was talking about. I've recently, over the last year, really decided to invest and focus heavily on the service side. So service is homeowners calling, they need a light fixed or a new light hung or, something small. I've decided to invest on service. Profit margins in service are phenomenal compared to construction because you're not bidding against anybody in service. You're just doing the work.
It's just direct to consumer, lead flow, good marketing.
Time and material, you're in, you're out, and the margins are fantastic. So I've made a direct focus on that. So I have a service manager and a service director. And really those two people have taken 2 field guys with them and done $1.5 million in sales in 1 year. And with profit margins being the way that they are, it's just fantastic. So I have a decent sized service department. Like I said, I have a controller. And then I have an estimator who's a full-time estimator, does a fantastic job, who also does some PMing. And then I have another PM, part-time PM, and what we call her is a project specialist. She does a lot of our job costing. So what she does is halfway through a project, she's checking in with me, and she said, hey, here's all the invoices to date. Here's labor to date. Right now you're trending towards losing money on this project. What can we do? And at that point, we're like, oh, we got too many guys on this job. Let's skinny it up, whatever it may be. But, she's kind of my Excel nerd, and she just loves that stuff and brings it to me in a very simple form that I can easily articulate.
Contracting is one of the margins for sure. Especially like in what you're doing with electrical.
Yeah,
I think some of the contracting trades like concrete are like 40%. It's like that's a lot of wiggle room, and you can make a lot of mistake. But it's a little bit tighter with what you're doing. So.
Yeah, on the construction side, really our margins are 10 to 12%, and that can go away real quick on some bad decisions in the field or whatever. So it's something we have to constantly monitor and make sure we're doing okay, because our field guys are the field guys, right? They have their own little snuggie blankets too. They all want to work with their buddies, and some of our foremen like having 5 guys on the job at all time when they only need 2.
Right.
And so that's something we got to keep an eye on for sure.
100%. So what do the next 10 years look like? What's your big, hairy, audacious goal? Because obviously you got a team that's like, hey, dude, we're growing.
Yeah.
So,
in the next 10 years, I got 2 daughters, kind of like we talked about. They're both fantastic basketball players. In my head, they're both going to the WNBA. In all likelihood, hopefully they make it to college. But in all seriousness, the plan is for them to get a college scholarship, and My wife and I would like to, sell what we have here on our house side and follow the girls around to wherever they are. I'd like to keep the business going the way it is. I don't really have a plan to sell it. I would like to, the team that I have in place, obviously we may need more and we may need to make a change, but
sure,
I would like to remotely manage the company and still be involved and keep it running. I think we provide a good service to the community and we give a ton back to the community as well. And I want to maintain that we keep doing that. So for the next 10 years, it's really to just make sure that the machine is well oiled and humming and that I can be away for 3 or 4 days at a time and that it keeps running and we keep doing well so that we can follow our girls around. We're in a little bit of a growth phase. We're trying, this year last year we were at 4.5 million in sales and I hired a controller, hired an estimator, and this year we're going to be real close to 10.
Damn.
Yeah. And so what my plan is for this year is we're doing really well at 10. We have a great group. People aren't stressed out. All of my employees are working 40 hours. Nobody's going home and working at night, which is important to me. I don't want that.
Yeah.
And if we can settle in at 10 nicely and everybody's working well and not killing themselves, I think that may be our niche. That's kind of where we settle in and grind out at 10 million a year.
Man, that's so valuable. I think sometimes there's a misconception that I need to start a business and I need to go raise a bunch of money and I need to take it public. And man, you're building an asset.
Yeah.
I mean, that's true lifestyle design, to be able to, sit back, watch your daughters play in the WNBA
That's it.
and travel around the country or the globe potentially and let the business still run and be a well-oiled machine. So
yeah, and this may be weird for some people listening. I have no intentions to get rich.
Yeah,
I want to live a very comfortable lifestyle, but I also want all my employees to be comfortable. I know all my employees. I know their kids. I know their wives. I know their grandmothers. And knowing that they're taken care of and their family is doing well and they're not having to do side work on the weekends,
right,
working 90 hours a week to survive, that's important to me. I pay more than most people in the area. Other companies around probably aren't a fan of me because of my pay scale.
That's why you're winning.
I am winning and my guys are winning, and that's what's important to me is that everybody's happy. I have no ambitions to have this big giant evil empire. I don't need a big giant compound anywhere. I just want to live a comfortable life, make sure my kids are happy, and make sure all my employees are happy.
Dude, I love that.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to do the math in my head from 4.5 to 10. What were the big revenue generators? Obviously, you went into more direct to consumer and doing residential work and whatnot and service side, but some big contracts in there? Or?
I hired an estimator. So that's something we haven't really talked about. On top of me building relationships and really chasing sales and being in the field, I was also estimating.
Oh, shoot.
I would come back to the office at night after working in the field all day, and there would be 5 bids that were due, and I didn't have an estimating software. I would hand scratch them out. I was tired. I would miss things, or I would just throw a number at it and we wouldn't get it. And there were times where I just missed bids, period, because I was so busy. And so we had these big, giant peaks and valleys in our workflow. We'd have work when I was focused on it, and when I was busy, we'd have a dip, and we'd have work and we'd have a dip. And I realized I was in trouble.
Yeah, you're the bottleneck.
Yeah, I realized I was in deep trouble. So went out, spent a bunch of money on an estimating software, hired a person who had no experience, but I loved their attitude, sent them through training, and now he's absolutely fantastic. And really, knock on wood, every project we've done that he's estimated, we've made our margins. The only projects we've lost money on are the little ones that I've hand scratched out. So
there might be something to that software.
Yes. So really, that has made a tremendous, that's what he focuses on all day is estimating.
Yeah.
There's no more hammering them out at the last minute at the end of the day. It's that he lives and breathes it. And then what I've done is, not only does he estimate them, but then he PMs the projects that he estimates. He knows them inside and out. He buys out all the material. He gets the best deal. and he knows, hey, we're trending in the wrong way. What are you guys doing that I missed? And it's helped his estimating as well.
Get better. I love that.
Yeah.
So how do you make, those are some big decisions, obviously, to hire a bunch of key people like that. And man, sometimes it can be really hard to, knock the wall down, expand the space, hire the employee, make the investment, and not entirely be certain of what the ROI is on that. It's not like you can plug in these numbers and I'm going to put 200,000 in and voila.
Yeah.
What's your framework or thought process? How do you make those decisions? How do you pinpoint that, that's the issue and we need to get some software and hire a person to do it?
Really, it came from my consultant, Ashley, and she's like, look at these peaks and valleys in your work. She's like, what is your backlog? And again, that's something I never really thought about.
She's like, what's a backlog?
She's like, okay, Evan, I know you're busy right now, but what about next quarter or 2 quarters from now? And I'm like, I'll figure that out when we get there. And she said, absolutely not. That's not how businesses work. So she really kind of helped me make a map that says, you need to have a long-term plan. And we went from just living in the moment work-wise to we're well into second quarter of next year with work, and knowing that we have the good backlog. I think more than anything, it was trusting her. It was first thing I did is I found the right person.
Right.
It takes a while, and we spend a lot of money on Indeed and all those other sites finding the right person. You spend money on office personnel interviewing these people. It's an investment though, and one thing I learned is don't hire the first person that you think you're like, okay, this will work. Let's go.
This is it. Yeah. Compared to what, right? That's
exactly. I don't have anything to compare it to, but I hired our estimator kind of the same way I hired field guys. I like to hire field guys that have no experience but are good people. I like think of a farm kid. They're hardworking.
Right.
They're used to getting up early. They just want to go to work, and they're good people. We hire those types of people and we train them our way, and they stick around forever. We did something similar with our estimator. Very good person, hardworking, detail-oriented, and then invested in the software. And I made the new hire plus my consultant really come to me with 3 options of, hey, here's these estimating softwares. Here's what I like about A, B, and C. And we made a decision as a team, and really the new hire owned the process of the software, and it's kind of taken off from there.
I love that. Do you guys have some core values that you live by? Because it sounds like just the way that you hire that person that you just described, right, the farm kid, that aligns a lot with like who you are and who I know you to be, which is hardworking, strong moral compass, like to grind, not afraid to get your hands dirty, not afraid to go figure it out.
Yeah, the one thing that we live by in our main core value is, it's a saying that a lot of people have heard, but you never get a second chance at a first impression. And that's what we live by. We talk about it at every company meeting that we have. It's on all of our new hire paperwork, and it's in our employee manual everywhere. And it's so true. My wife talks to me about relationships, about, very similar to credit score. It takes years and years and years to build good credit and seconds to ruin it.
It's like a forest. That's the saying, right?
That's right.
Years to build and second to burn it down.
That's right. Relationships are the same way. And without relationships and credit score, you have nothing in business. And so that's really what we focus on. And I empower my employees to make relationships. I love when my field guys, when I get an email from a general contractor that said, hey, I love your employee, Johnny. He's fantastic. I really like that. I don't need to be the point man in my company. I don't need to be the face of the company where everybody says, hey, Evan, you're great. You're great. I don't need that. I want my employees to be great. I want them to have relationships with people that we work for. And really, that's the thing that we've lived by is our reputation.
Yeah, that's just a testament to your leadership style and letting the employee be empowered to say, hey, man, you can make this decision in the field without running it up by me. I'd like to dig in on that a little bit, because that is, in my opinion, the best way to run a business is to have empowered employees who have the confidence and an understanding of what the vision and the values are of the business and make decisions, man.
Yeah.
How do you think about leadership? What is that?
I'm trying to build leaders that are similar to myself is what I'm trying to do. If I have 6, 7, point guys in the field that lead similar to it's going to be very successful. And So something I've changed in the last 2 years is I do a lot of profit sharing per job. I don't do it at the end of the year. So
that's way more real time incentivizing for them to get the job done on time and
it is
on budget.
Yeah, most of our jobs are 3 or 4 months or less, and so instead of profit sharing at the end of the year, like a lot of companies do, where everybody gets to drink from the same glass, whether you did a good job or not, I don't like that, because then some people aren't pulling their own weight and they're riding the tails of the good guys.
It's like group projects. Right?
Yeah.
It's like, oh gosh, here's this guy.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So what I've done is I've made the lead men on each job responsible. And if they make over a certain percentage, we have these metrics, and there's 7 metrics that go from safety to communication to teamwork. And if they check those boxes, it creates a formula of their profit sharing.
Wow.
And so at the end of a 4-month project, we sit down with each foreman and we say, hey, here, it went really well, and here's why. Here's your check. And, I've got some foremen that are getting a $5,000 check every 3 months based on how well they're doing. And that's on top of their already high salary. And it's gone a long way. I've incredible buy-in. They're making good decisions in the field. They're making decisions based on what's best for the business. They're capturing all little change orders that come through. Some guys don't like to do paperwork, so if there's extra work, they just do it, and they're like, I'm not doing that paperwork. It's no big deal. That paperwork translates directly into your bonus.
Yeah, you're doing the paperwork.
Yes, and now it's crazy because we've created this culture. Now I've got lead men who are getting a $5,000 bonus that are then going and cashing the check into small bills and giving it out to their crew.
They're bonusing their crew. Wow.
And that's all on them, and part of the other incentive is for the younger guys is I can't wait to get my license and run work so I can get that bonus. And really now I've got, like I said, I've got foremen that are breaking it into small bills, and they're giving a couple $100 to each one of their guys. And it's this really cool cycle of buy-in. We don't have much turnover at all. I've made some bad field hires here and there. But outside of that, there's no turnover of guys that are unhappy and looking for other work and doing side work at night and things like that. So,
damn, dude, that's incredibly impressive.
I don't know if it's the right way or the wrong way, but it's kind of just my way, and it's working. I'm not a big business guru. I don't have a marketing degree. I don't. You
just love people, dude.
I love people, and I love making people happy. I get more joy in life of giving than I ever have gotten getting.
Yeah, I mean, obviously you're in the electrical contracting business, but I think the problem that you're actually solving as an entrepreneur, like your little value add to the market, is I know what it's like to work 90 hours a week.
Yeah,
have to do side work and be away from my family. So I'm going to build a better electrical contracting business that makes sure that my guys and gals never have to do that.
That's exactly right. And the other thing that when I left the GC world is every raise I got in the GC world, I asked for.
Yeah.
Which is something I promised myself when I had a company nobody would ever have to do.
Right.
And in 6 years, nobody's ever asked me for a raise. And I'm sure they've wanted to, but I've always come to them first. I've always said, I see you working hard. I see you getting to the job 15 minutes before everybody else and opening it up so we're ready to go. I see that. I see all that. And I reward that. And, as of today, nobody's come to me and say, hey, I need to make more money or I got to go somewhere else. And I take a lot of pride in that.
Heck yeah, you should, man. That's incredible. And that's a testament to kind of what we were talking about offline, is just how important relationships are to you, how you've used them to build your business. It's pretty much your approach for sales, right, is relationship building.
Yeah.
Let's dig on that a little bit. Relationships. You, obviously, at the beginning of your business, you were not valuing your part in the relationship, and giving away too much. But can you share some more insight on wisdom on relationships?
Yeah. In the construction world, there's really 2 types of work. There's what's called hard bid work, which is you're bidding against. I may be bidding against 11 contractors on a certain job. And then there's negotiated work, which negotiated work is you've got a relationship with a general contractor. That general contractor comes to you and says, hey, here's a project. Can you help me build a budget? Right. And you're not bidding against anybody else. But that comes with a tremendous amount of trust, because if you take advantage of a negotiated project one time, you're done.
Yeah.
And negotiated work's hard to come by. We may work for 25 GCs a year. Of those 25, maybe only 3 or 4 are negotiated type work. Everything else is hard bid, where we're going against everybody and profit margins are lower and everything else. I work really hard in those negotiated moments to make sure that we're not taking advantage of anything. We're very transparent. Our profit margins aren't out of control. But when you're not bidding against somebody, you become a team partner more than you become just a contractor hoping and praying you get a job.
Right.
And I've really focused more on our negotiated contractors and our relationships than I have the hard bid stuff. We still do hard bid some things to keep the pipeline full and keep our portfolio of work diverse. But the negotiated work, it's incredible, and it's more of a joy to work on. There's more buy-in, and our guys like that type of work. So,
well, yeah, and they help you make those big leaps and jumps, especially as those relationships grow and that contractor grows and their projects get bigger. And what was maybe a couple houses turns into large scale community.
Yeah, and that's the other thing that our consultant Ashley's really helped me understand is the $30,000 project for us. We were touching it as many times as we would a $300,000 project on the office and management side.
Right.
So if you think about that, the amount of times you're touching it on the office side and the little return you're getting versus the big return, all of a sudden she's like, why are you continuing to bid these small ones? I know you're really good at them and they're comfy and you feel safe. Get bigger.
Yeah.
And we can touch it the same amount of time, but you still make the same margin, but the actual overall dollar value is so much larger. And I think that's been the other part of our growth is I've realized get out of your comfort zone a little bit. Stop doing everything you're really good at. Challenge yourself and do something bigger. And all of a sudden, what used to be comfortable is now child's play. And now we're up into that next level, and we're getting good at that. And I'm not sure if we'll take it up one more notch or not, or if we'll just settle in and be really, really good at everything. But you got to get out of your comfort zone. That's for sure.
I love that. All right. So there's a person who's listening to this podcast right now. Maybe they relate to you because they are you, meaning they've, who you were 6-7 years ago. Or have a similar story, and they need a little kick in the tail, a little inspiration and a little advice to take the step and go finally jump in and pursue their entrepreneurial dream or goal, whatever it may be. What would you tell them?
I'd go back to what I said earlier. I mean, if you're having a hard time getting out of bed, if you dread going to work when the alarm goes off and you're like, oh, it is Wednesday, do something about it. It has changed my life in the fact that I'm more present for my kids. I enjoy life. We have things and are able to do things I was never able to do before. I can leave in the middle of the day to go watch a school performance.
Right.
I coach 4 basketball teams now, something I never could do before. And I absolutely love it. And part of the reason I coach 4 teams now is because it makes me be present for my kids. Yeah. I make time for them because I'm a workaholic. I would just work. But I would tell that person, just take the chance. The worst thing that can happen is it doesn't work and you go back into the same field. But you will have gained experience. You can try it again. But you've got to make that change, because as soon as you start living for yourself and stop living and working for someone else, your life will change forever.
Damn, dude. We're going to end on that. If somebody wants to get a hold of you, maybe reach out, ask for some of your wisdom or mentorship.
Sure.
What's the best way to get a hold of you?
You can email us. Excuse me. You can email us to our website, conductall.com. You can Google us and call the office and just let them know that you heard the podcast, or maybe even just want some work on your house. And I can certainly come by with the guys and talk to you or whatever you need. But we got all the social media, Conductalls on social media as well. So reach out to us there. And
and if you're in Northern Colorado, you will see their branding everywhere. It's pretty sweet. It's bright. It's green.
It's green.
Black.
On the terms of branding, I want people to think, hey, we need an electrician. Hey, what's that neon green company? That's all I wanted. So
renting space in their mind, man.
That's right.
That. Thank you for that marketing nugget to cap it off.
Absolutely.
Hey, man, I appreciate you. Love you, dude. Thanks so much for being here and sharing your wisdom. I learned a ton, and I can't wait for everybody to hear this.
For sure.
Thanks.
I don't, man. Thanks.